All right, so I will introduce myself just a little bit to you so you know who I am and what we're going to be doing, and then I will be introducing to you our other speakers as we go along. We have different segments. We keep it hopefully fairly rapid moving, and we might have gotten a little slower start tonight trying to get our logistics figured out, but we will try to be respectful of your time and not carry on too long tonight. So, my name is Mandy Francis. I will be sharing with you about nutrition and how to make healthy food and healthy cooking part of your lifestyle simpler, easier, more fun. And my friend Jennifer over here, she will be helping with that project as well. She has lots of experience in cooking. And then we will have several other segments, and I will introduce those as we come along. This is not the season where I like to do this recipe, but I still wanted to share this recipe with you. August would be my time for this recipe, when the tomatoes are ripe in the garden and I have basil growing in my garden. But this is where we are, so this is what we're going to do. I have some of the tomatoes already chopped here. Just in the case that we have anybody here that doesn't know how to chop a tomato, I'm just going to chop a few right here. There are different ways you can chop a tomato. I'm going to chop it in half so it doesn't roll away, and then just do a grid work across it. You can also use one of those handy little choppers that has a grid work in it, and you just stick half a tomato in there and slam it down, and it chops it into cubes. The problem with those choppers is they kind of tend to juice your tomato too, which is a little bit of a challenge. A little bit of a firmer tomato can work better for this recipe because of the chopping. I actually raised some tomatoes last summer that were a new heirloom variety I had never raised before, and they were extremely juicy and sloppy. I mean, they tasted delicious, but I actually don't ever tend to raise that variety again because they grow in these ugly, grotesque features, and they were just terrible to work with. They would have, by now I would have had my whole board swimming. So, there we go. And you can chop them how you like. We're going to just scrape this off in here. Now, I did save the cutting of the basil, and I should have had a little bit of a different knife. But if you take basil can be kind of a headache. One way to do it is just to take a pair of scissors and just snip it. The other thing is, a fancy fresh term for this, if I get this right, is chiffonade. And you roll up your leaves, and then you just sliver them, and you try not to sliver your fingers on the way. And it smells so good. You know, tomatoes are high in lycopene. Lycopene is a carotenoid that is known to be cancer preventative, and it is found in many of the red foods. Now we are going to add a little salt. You can adjust that as is needed. If you needed to be on a lower sodium diet, reduce that. A little green onion. Olives, if you like olives. If you don't like olives, leave them out. Or if you like a different type of olive, go ahead and do that. Then we're going to use some fresh garlic. Garlic is known for having beneficial cardiovascular properties, and it's also known for being antimicrobial when it's raw. So when we are in flu season, we will use a little extra garlic if we feel like we're getting sick. And you have to be a little careful with that socially, though. As you see, to peel a garlic, I was slamming the knife down on it. That helps to loosen the peel. Or you can stick it in your garlic press and press it just a little bit, take it out, pull off the skin, and then press it all the way. If you don't have a garlic press, you can certainly just chop this by hand. Or you can use canned minced garlic, but it's not going to taste the same. Now, the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of olive oil, which you would have in your recipe, what you're eating. But if you want to use a little less oil, you can certainly reduce or eliminate that, what your personal preference is. The oil kind of brings out some nice flavor. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit in there. And then we are going to just toss that up. Now, you will let this set, and I prefer to keep it in the refrigerator just for food safety reasons. And so you can mix this up, stick it in the refrigerator, and maybe you mix it up before you go to work in the morning, and you come home and you can just cook some pasta, and you just toss it in fresh, and so you have a really, really quick meal. Even if you don't have time to let it set, you can just chop this up. It doesn't meld the flavors as well, but you can still just toss it in with pasta and it's ready to go. You could also use this similar to a way you would use bruschetta, which is to put it on bread, and that would be really good as well. So, excellent way to start using more fresh food in your diet instead of buying a pasta sauce, which pasta sauce is great too. But you can add more raw fruits and veggies into your diet just with a pasta sauce. It's really fast and easy like that.
So a plant-based advantage, so you're tasting some of it right now. All right, thank you. I appreciate Pastor Phil helping with the technology side. And we're going to look at a little bit of those advantages every single evening with some physicians and fitness coaches and all kinds of different things. So it's going to be really exciting. You won't want to miss some of that, and especially tasting it. Come on, all of the science stuff you may not remember, but you'll at least remember the taste. So there was in 2003, Morgan Spurlock did something crazy. He did the 30-day challenge. And he actually made it into a movie where he ate at McDonald's for every single day for an entire month. What do you think happened? yeah. He gained 24 pounds in 1 month. And so what's that? Right, exactly. You guys are brilliant. So his cholesterol was normal when he started. He was under physician supervision, and his cholesterol went up to 230 in 1 month. And he had mood swings, sexual dysfunction, fat accumulation in his liver. It was maybe not the 30-day challenge we would be recommending here. Most definitely. So obesity, these weight gain issues, of course, were not like Morgan Spurlock, but obesity is around 40% of Americans right now, and it's estimated to be about half of Americans in 2030. And it's about to overtake the leading cause of death. So the underlying cause of death is tobacco for quite some time. But it is predicted to be overtaken by obesity, because obesity in and of itself isn't necessarily a problem, but it causes all this complex physiology that makes it very, very challenging. We just don't feel good. And all of these acronyms up here with all these chemicals creating whole body inflammation. And so when COVID happened and COVID caused a lot of inflammation, we had a double epidemic of obesity that exacerbated how bad COVID hit America and some of the other countries. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, kidney disease, liver disease, even some types of cancers related, high blood pressure, all related to obesity, sleep apnea, and so on and so forth. And this is I'm not going to bring you all bad news tonight, don't worry. So Mandy mentioned something very interesting. You may think, oh, it's hopeless, right? I'm going to be the leading cause of death, and premature death being more important, right? We're going to talk about that in a second, because, especially maybe the young and healthy is like, oh, whatever, I'll eat how I want and whatever, it'll happen as it happens. But we're talking about premature death before 80. A lot of that happens in America, and that's what we want to prevent. And it can be preventable. That's why you're here. So trans fat is one, and different types of fats get a bad rap, and for good reason. So the red line there is trans fat, the worst possible fat that you could eat for living a long time. So this is a Harvard study, and it's for every 2% of calories, of total calories that you ate in your diet, if that was trans fat, just 2% of your total calories, it increased your risk of death by 16%. You know how easy it is to you just deep fry a chicken wing and you're on your way. Unfortunately, it's just not cool. So, and then saturated fat is the orange line there. That's found in like your meats and cheeses. So 5% of your total calories increases your risk of death by around 8%. So not the direction you want to go necessarily. But what Mandy was saying is actually replacing foods. This is a very, finding new foods that you enjoy. And can you actually, know that fat can decrease your risk of dying? Wow, fat gets such a bad, you need fat in your diet. You need the right types of fat. So monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, the blue and the green lines are the healthy fats. So avocados and nuts and seeds and even the fresh oils and things like that are extremely healthy for us. And a 5% increase of fat, yes, I said that, a 5% increase of these healthy fats, decreasing your risk of mortality by 11% for the monounsaturated and 19% for the polyunsaturated fat. That's where we get the omega-3s and all this kind of hype that you've heard about. It's actually, you need healthy fats in your diet. So are we killing ourselves one bite at a time with those unhealthy fats? We could be having a 20% decrease risk of mortality when we're really having some of the other fats that are killing us, like Morgan Spurlock, yeah. Brain is, mostly fat. That's where omega-3s are like definitely. So Morgan Spurlock ate at McDonald's. I went to medical school in Loma Linda, California, which was actually right across the road from the birthplace of McDonald's in San Bernardino, California. So I come from a very infamous medical school. Actually, not really, because right across the interstate from the birthplace of McDonald's is Loma Linda, California, and people live to over 100, well into their 90s and 100s all the time. Like, this is a normal phenomenon. These are called blue zones. The 10-year advantage. These are all things that have been well researched that we don't have time to go into necessarily today. But the top, this is a chart of people, the AHS population, so the Adventist health study, those folks that were living longer in this particular blue zone and other Seventh-day Adventists in other areas. And so you can see that that curve extends much longer than the rest of the Californian population, which is the second line there, a 10-year advantage, 8 to 10 years. Yes? Yeah, exactly. So Dan Buettner has had a whole journey of discovering these areas in the world that live over 100, and actually not like, oh, I'm over 100, I made it. No, like when Dan Buettner went to Loma Linda, California, he wanted to interview this surgeon who was a cardiothoracic surgeon who was still operating in his 90s. He wasn't the main surgeon. I don't know if you'd want a surgery from him, but he was still assisting in surgeries in his 90s. And so Dan Buettner goes and visits him, or one of his staff, and he's out in his yard pounding in his own fence because it was too expensive to have someone else do it. 90 years old. One second. I only have to have 15 minutes here, so we can talk afterwards. So these are some of the different areas that he found that lived consistently over 100. Only one in the U.S. All these other areas, you can read the book. It's very fascinating. Tend to be more in rural areas where people are, have very active jobs. They're physically active as part of their culture and part of who they are. And that seems to be the case also in people in Loma Linda, California, in other Adventist health studies. And they had a community. They had a very positive outlook. They ate healthfully, which is mainly what we're talking about here, makes a big difference. And the movement is part of who they are. Very fascinating. So is the biggest killers in America reversible? We're just going to look at heart disease very briefly tonight, and we're going to look at some others on Tuesday about are some of the biggest causes of death in America actually reversible with more of a plant-based diet as well as a holistic lifestyle. So this is Dean Ornish. He looked into heart disease and actually said, as a cardiologist, heart disease is actually reversible with his research as well as several others. So 1 year of some of the worst people who had heart disease, about a 40% reduction in the worst cholesterol, and 91% decrease in heart pain. So the heart pains that are caused by heart disease, 91% decrease in those episode. And he noticed a decrease in the artery stenosis or blocking of the arteries that causes heart disease, so from 40 to 37.8%, whereas the group that didn't do anything, they didn't change what they were eating, they didn't change to a plant-based diet, they had 165% increase in that heart pain from their heart disease. And their their stenosis, so their advanced heart disease advanced from 42.7% to 46%. So that is actually reversible. So Caldwell Estes actually, printed it on, I'm sorry, the images aren't the greatest. He actually printed the reduction after 32 weeks being on a plant-based diet. So the one on your guys' right, B, is after 32 weeks. See how full and nice it is? The one on your left, see how skinny that is? And very small that is. That is the stenosis, the blockage. 32 weeks of the people who even the cardiologist wouldn't operate on is the people that he studied, and it completely opened back up after 32 weeks. That is amazing. From a plant-based diet, simply what we do with our elbows being as powerful, even more powerful than what a cardiothoracic surgeon can do in the operating room. That is incredible. So how much difference does a plant-based diet? You want to come back on Tuesday to make sure that you find out how and why and all of the details. But what do you think? With adequate changes in diet and lifestyle, what percentage of premature heart disease, death from premature heart disease, could be prevented? What do you think? That is a tremendous guess. And you have not heard this before, I know that, because I just met you. Wow, yeah, you're spot on. 90%, that is incredible. 80% with diet alone is what is estimated to prevent premature death from heart disease. We're going to look at diabetes on Tuesday. We're going to look at several other things we're not going to get into a lot of it, and we'll also make it really practical for you as well. That's the most important piece, is how can I take something home and make it easy, fast, and extremely practical, and taste amazing, and have way better health and feel better because of it. No, thank you so very much.
Anyway, so what we're going to start with is some not blueberries, but some bananas. Now, the bananas give it sweetness. And it's best to use bananas that are just a little bit ripe, that have a few spots on them. There have been studies that have shown that bananas that have spots actually have cancer-fighting properties in them. And then what you guys ate tonight is it has strawberries, blueberries, and sweet cherries in it. So this was 3 pounds, and you can get it at Walmart, and it's less than $10. So it's a great deal if you're only using about a cup at a time. So I have 1 banana in there. Ah! I'm not used to a microphone being right in front of me. So about a cup of fruit. Now you can use any kind of fruit, really. You can use pineapple, you can use mango, you can just use banana if you want to do a treat and just do banana and peanut butter. Oh, that's really, really good. And then we have a little bit of soy milk. So you can use almond milk, you can use hemp milk, you can use oat milk, you can use any kind of non-dairy milk that you want to use. This one is soy, and it's the organic soy. Now, one nice thing with some of the fruits that are in here, so blueberries are super rich in fiber, and they have a lot of vitamin C and vitamin K, and those actually help our body process cholesterol and nutrients like carbohydrates and proteins. And then we also have cherries in here, which I just found this out today. You know, cherries are good, they taste good. And sometimes I eat them for just desserts, but cherries, they're super high in vitamin C. You wouldn't think, you think most citrus is high in vitamin C, but cherries are high in vitamin C. But cherries, they lower inflammation, and they help to protect your heart, and they actually improve sleep. So if you want to sleep a little bit better, eat some cherries before you go to bed. Not right before you go to bed, but probably for dinner. All right, and then there's one last ingredient in here that I'm going to let you guess what it is. I'm going to tell you what beneficial properties it has, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let you guess first because it was in all of your smoothies and you probably don't even know that it was in it, which was great. So this particular item of food is an excellent source of vitamin K. And as well, it's high in magnesium and calcium and phosphorus. And it's really important to help to maintain your bone health. And it also has several different benefits. It contains vitamins and antioxidants that protect us from chronic diseases. And it helps to promote brain health, cardiovascular health, and eye health. What do you think it is? Somebody cheated. Who told? Spinach. So you probably didn't even know that you were drinking your greens, did you? So usually you do about a handful. If you feel adventurous, you can do a couple handfuls. You can also do other greens like kale or collards. Those are a little bit richer, a little bit more bitter. So if you add fruits like pineapple or anything that's a little bit acidic like oranges or things like that, that'll help to cancel out the bitterness of it. But it's a really good way to get those nutrients in your body, especially for like little kids. They're like, oh, it's green. I'm not going to eat it. Well, here, drink it. All right, so you put everything in there, and then we're just going to blend this. Hopefully the mic doesn't pick this up, but it probably will. It'll be really loud. So usually what I did for breakfast is when I would make this, I would have everything chopped up for myself in the freezer. So I would also add about a half of a carrot. I would also add a handful of raw oats, and I would also add a handful of nuts. So I was getting my protein, I was getting my fruit, I was getting my veggies. I was basically getting all the food groups that my body needed to sustain me through at least lunchtime, because I was in a profession that you're on your feet all day and you're talking all day. So you tend to burn up energy. But it's super simple, super easy, and you can make them thicker. I used bananas that were not frozen. If you use bananas that are frozen, this thing will be like super thick, and it'll be like ice cream. So ice cream with spinach. Super simple. Any questions with this recipe?
If you don't move, you're not going to move. I think we can safely say that. Thank you, Mandy. Yes, I'm Nathan Hyde. Good to see you all. Glad you made it this evening. I'm new to the area. a couple of years ago, I was in California in a program I work in out there, and Dr. Hazelton came out, and she observed in the program a couple of times, and she kept telling me what was going on out here in Michigan. And she could tell I was interested, because I was like, yes, that is exactly what I want to be involved in. So finally she said, no, we're good. It kind of helped. It helps me. Finally she said, you want to come out and help us? And I said, I think I would like to do that. So I started to pray about that, and it became clear, at least to me, that this is where I should come. So here I am now, and I have gone through my first Michigan winter. It's over, right? It is over? Tell me it's over. It's over. Thank you. Very good. Springtime looks a lot like winter to me here in Michigan. I'm from western Washington. It's wet over there. We don't get a lot of snow, but we get a lot of rain. Here, you have a schizophrenic spring. It's very... So anyway, it keeps me on my toes, but I have enjoyed being here in Michigan. Over this last winter, I had opportunity to talk to a number of Michiganders here, and one theme kept coming up when I talked to them about exercise during the winter, and they'd say, yeah, I'm not doing much right now, but during the summer, I'm very active. So the winter's over, Michiganders. And it's time to get moving, because when we become sedentary, the statistics on this are pretty serious. You should have a handout there. It says healthy living on the front of it. It's got some graphs and stuff. So I also work as a researcher, so I'm going to throw a little more science at you, some more studies that I thought were especially impactful. So you can pick that up, and we will start to look at that. So 8 hours of sitting, as it turns out, is approximately equal to smoking. Wow. Okay. That's a big deal, right? Or obesity, or being way overweight. 8 hours of sitting. So that's a statistic you might want to keep in your mind. What does it elevate? Cholesterol, triglycerides, inflammation, all the stuff, these really bad things that we know contribute to the chronic diseases that run so rampant in America and around the world now. So sedentary time also increases risk of diabetes, heart disease, deep vein thrombosis, metabolic syndrome, and the risk is even higher for those. It's even higher if you exercise a lot. You'd think, I could sit all I want. That's no big deal. I went out and did my exercise. That's not the way it works. Let's look at our first graph here. This is from the NHANES study. So the NHANES study is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Study, I think. Is that right, Kim? Okay. So this is like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So this is a huge number of people. And they went through and they looked at two things. Here on this graph, they looked at sedentary time. That's the amount of time you spend sitting. And they looked at physical activity, which is basically the time you spend exercising. So you can see this graph here. High sed means high sedentary, and high PA means high physical activity. So PA is physical activity, and SED is sedentary. So you can see there, those who had high sedentary, even though they had high PA, what was their risk in terms of increased risk of death? Almost 200% higher, even though they were exercising a lot. Now it gets worse as we go down, right? So if you have low sedentary and low PA, then it goes up to like 350%, and it's really bad. If you have high sedentary time, so if you're sitting around a lot, and you spend most of your time sitting, and you're not exercising at all, what's the increased risk of early mortality in that case? Over 600%. Wow. This is a huge deal. So as I go through these, I'm convicted myself. So some of you may have desk jobs. It's like, I can't help it, I got a desk job. Well, standing desk. Can't afford a standing desk. That's what I told myself for a while. Cardboard box. Cardboard box works really good for a standing desk. I've been using one for years. I didn't bring it with me from Washington. I figured you had some out here. I was right. I found some. And I have a standing desk out here now, also known as a cardboard box. So some of these fixes are pretty easy. Now, walking. So this is, everybody here like to hike, like to take walks? Yeah, great stuff, great exercise. Why is it really good? Just about everybody can do it. Very low impact, it's easy on our joints, better than running. What is the leading cause of death in America? I think you know, someone's about to say it. Heart disease, right? Heart disease is the leading cause. Probably around 600,000 people a year in the United States die from heart disease. It's very serious. So let's look at an example of that. As Kim said, about 90% of the heart attacks could be prevented from healthy lifestyle. That's the same statistics I have, 81 to 94%. By implementing a comprehensive lifestyle. I'm not talking just about exercise here, I'm talking about the whole enchilada, so to speak. We're talking about diet, we're talking about drinking enough water, getting enough rest, reducing our stress. All of that comes together. If we all did that, 8 or 9 out of 10 heart attack deaths in America, gone. Wow, would that change our world? Would that change our country? Absolutely. Now here's the good thing. This is up to us. This is our choice. That's where it really gets good, is that we can make the decision to do these things, and we can take control of that. Wow, this is up to us. That's good news. Canadian study. Interesting. Now, I'm not putting down heart surgery or stents in any way, but this gives you an idea of how powerful exercise is. They took some Canadians who were struggling with heart issues, and for 12 months, they had them either ride a bicycle for 20 minutes a day, just 20 minutes a day, versus another group who had stents. And then after 12 months, they looked and they compared the cardiac events. Who did better? 88% of those who had, on the exercise, on the bicycle, no cardiac events. The stent group, only 70%. Actually outperformed the stents. Now, if you need a stent, get your stent. I'm not saying that. But there's other things we can do. We can eat right, we can exercise, we can add to those things. Another way of looking at it. Another study. These were guys who had had a heart attack already or had had bypass surgery. And they followed these guys for 9 years. I think there was 2,000 of them. What they discovered was the ones who started to exercise more, for every additional mile that they walked, 20% reduction in the risk of heart attack death. So 1 mile, 20%. 2 miles, 40%. 3 miles, 60%. You can cut your heart attack risk, death of heart attack, in half by walking 3 miles a day. Wow, that's powerful. And that is up to you. And you can do that. Now, right now, you might not be able to do it, and you're thinking, I can hardly walk to the mailbox and back. Okay, go to the mailbox and back once. Then you go twice, and then you go 3 times, and you work your way up in a nice, smooth, even way where you don't hurt yourself. So how much is enough? How much exercise do we need? Well, that depends on your fitness level now. So I would recommend that you not start out too fast. Because if you say, I'm going to do my 3 miles, and you haven't walked at all for months, you're going to blow out your tire or something. And this is going to put you down. You're going to get injured. So start easy, start slow, and take that long-term goal of I'm going to get out there, but I'm going to do it nice and easy, and nice and smooth. Make steady progress and don't give up. That's the idea. Make steady progress. Don't give up. You're going to run into barriers, but you have solutions for those barriers. You'll find those too. Hour-long walk each day, that's going to serve you well for the rest of your life if you can get there. Saw my dad do it for years. He lived to 95. He would still be, he would have made it to 100. He broke a bone in his back, unfortunately. He couldn't exercise out of that, and that changed everything. But he did that every day. He walked an hour every day, still healthy. His mind was sharp all the way up to the end. Now, something that can help you, I'm not sure if I'm going over. Give me a, okay. Something that can help you stay on track, that's very powerful in terms of goal achievement, is accountability. And you have a graph on there. So more levels of accountability equals better odds of achieving your goal. That's the second graph you can see on there. So they took, I think it was between 100 and 200 students, and they put them into 5 different groups. Group number 1. The group number 1 thought about their goals they hoped to accomplish over a 4-week period, ranked the goals by importance and difficulty, and their motivations to reach them. That was group number 1. Group number 2 did the same as group number 1, plus they wrote down their goals. Group number 3 did the same as group number 2, but they wrote down some action commitments. This is what I'm going to do, not only the goals, but action commitments. Group number 4, same as group number 3, but they told a friend about the goal. Now they're getting over into real accountability. They're telling somebody else. And group number 5, the same as group number 4, but they submitted weekly reports to a friend. There you can see how it improved. Group number 1, 43%. By the time you get up to group number 5, 76% improvement. That's a pretty sizable chunk. Improved by 30%. Just from accountability. So what I want to tell you is find somebody that you can trust to keep you on track. I would warn you, be careful about choosing your best friend. You guys are laughing, you know why, right? Because you know what you like to do together. Oh, let's go have some coffee. We don't need to exercise. Yeah, I'm sore too. Let's go do that. Okay, it's better off to take that person you maybe don't know quite as well, and you're going to feel a little more accountable to. So be careful as that. So, but do find a partner if you can. Accountability is very powerful. So tonight's theme really is about quick and easy. So if I wanted to have you do something right now that would qualify as exercise, what would I have you do? Remember what we looked at? Stand. You guys are on it. Okay, everybody now, if you can, stand up. If you can't, stand up. Very nice. Look at you guys. All right. Your heart rate just went up. Your heart rate just went up 10 to 20 beats per minute just from doing that. Okay? Congratulations. You are no longer sedentary. You are no longer sedentary, right? Okay. Now, how long you can do that. Okay, that's good. This is the idea. Remember, when you're sitting at home, what's the first thing you got to do when you're thinking about, I should get out and do something? What should you do? Here, this sister right here has got it. Stand up. Now, step 2. What's step 2? Do the next thing that you're able to do. Do the next thing you're able to do. So, if we're going to do something in here right now that we're able to do, what might we do? We're going to have a basketball game. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to march in place, if you're able. Now, if you can't, that's okay. If you can't, that's okay, but let's march in place. What is happening to our heart rate? It's going up. Why is it going up? We're using our muscles. So it has to get the energy in, has to get the waste products out. Your heart has to respond. It's working faster. Your muscles are getting stronger. Okay, step number 3, if we could do one more thing, what would we do? Phil Mills has got it. We're going to use our arms. There we go. Your heart rate is going up. Now, if you can't do it, it's okay. No one fall over, please. This is it. Or you could put them straight above your head. There you go. Nice work, guys. Look at you. All right. Okay. Warm down. Take it easy. Stop marching. Sit down, please. Thank you. You guys did perfect. Well done. So, I do want to tell you this. In terms of hierarchy of exercise, I would say there's 4 things. Exercise indoors. Excellent. I would count that as good. That's good. Exercise outdoor. Better, right? Why would that be? Fresh air, sunshine, maybe get some negative ions if it's raining. Number 3, outdoors, in the forest, in a green area. What are those trees producing? Those trees are producing things that add to your health. Phytoncides, I call them. And they're out there. The trees produce them to keep the bugs off. We walk over next to that tree. We get the benefit. We breathe that stuff in. We feel better. Okay, number 4, the absolute ultimate for me outdoors, in a green space, what do you think the other one would be? With a friend. With a friend or with friends, because then we get the social aspect too, okay? So that's the hierarchy. Indoors, outdoors, outdoors in a green space, outdoors in a green space with a friend. That's it. Think about that. Okay, I'm about done here.
Okay, we are going to do the marinated tofu that you had in your wrap. Tofu, people get scared of it because it's blah. If you've ever bought tofu and thought, okay, now I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to eat tofu, and you open it up and you cut a piece and put it in your mouth and you're like, blah, why do people eat this? Well, tofu is super bland, so you can put all kinds of flavors with it, and you can make it sweet, you can make it savory, there are ways to make it chewier, there are ways to get it softer, and so there are lots of ways. So don't give up on tofu, because chances are there will be some way that you'll figure out how to like tofu. We are going to use for the baked tofu, we want to go for a firm or extra firm. So there are different types. There are silkens, there's soft, or you might even, some stores find a medium, but we want for a stir fry or something like that, we want something firm or extra firm. And I am going to have you cut that open and drain that. And we did have a little towel here to pat it dry, but we don't have that right now. You don't have to do that, but it can be nice to pat it dry, and it will absorb more marinades. Now, something I actually like to do with tofu before marinating it sometimes is to freeze it. You can actually throw this whole package in the freezer, and then you take it out and thaw it, and that makes it more chewy, and it also makes it more porous to absorb the marinades better. So if you find somewhere at a store where they have tofu on sale, you totally can buy a bunch and throw it in the freezer and just take out a couple of pounds at a time. All right, there we've got a towel. We're going to dab it dry. There's a fair bit, it's water packed, so we like to actually get some of the water out of it. All right, now we are going to make the marinade. And I'm going to get my recipe in front of me here. And totally you can mix and match this the way you want it to. We are going to start with a half cup of soy sauce. And sometimes you can use, if you prefer, you can use Bragg's liquid aminos. They are an unfermented soy sauce-like sauce, and you can find it in most stores now in the soy sauce department. Or if you want something a little less expensive or a little more common, you can use regular soy sauce. I like to use the Meyer brand soy sauce because it's gluten-free. I am not gluten-free, but I have gluten-free friends. And so I like not to have to worry about my soy sauce because a lot of soy sauces have wheat ingredients in them. This one does not. So just a little hint, if you have gluten-free friends, that's where you can find gluten-free soy sauce. And Bragg's Aminos is also gluten-free. Now, we're going to use about half a cup, and I am just going to take that little dripper thing off there. We're going to put some soy sauce. Now, this recipe is made to cover 1.5 blocks of tofu. But honestly, who wants to bother with 1.5 blocks? So you can either make the marinade and save, freeze it or whatever for later, or you can do 3 blocks and double the recipe, whatever works for you. All right, Carice is cutting this up in nice little 1/4-inch slices. And when she is done with that, we are going to have her put it on an oiled pan. You can use nonstick spray if you like, or you can just put some olive oil on a pan and be a little generous. And go ahead and drizzle that on. I am going to press fresh garlic into this sauce. This really takes the flavor to the top. If you don't want to bother with this, you certainly can just use garlic powder. And often I will do that, but the fresh garlic is just amazing, if you like garlic, that is. So we'll just quickly press that. And then we'll add in a variety of seasonings. And we'll call that good. Okay, so we are going to add, now this is really optional. Some people don't like it sweet, but what you had this evening was a little bit sweeter. So this is to make it a little bit more like barbecue. I'm putting in some organic sugar, and this is actually quite a bit. Now the bad thing about this is that as it cooks on your pan, it tends to burn on along the edges, and you think, oh no, I've ruined my pan. You actually haven't. It usually soaks off just fine. It's just like candy along the side of your pan. Then we're going to add a little bit of coriander and some turmeric. Now turmeric is anti-inflammatory in property. A little bit of paprika. You can see I'm measuring very carefully. And a little bit of cumin. It just kind of adds just a little pungency to it. Now you can add other things to this. If you like smoked paprika, you can make it more smoky flavored, or even some liquid smoke. Or you can make it more Italian type flavored. And then we're going to just mix that up and spread it on the top of the tofu slices and bake it to the amount of brownness you like. All right, nobody has to dictate how long you're going to bake it. If you like it a little browner, bake it a little browner. If you like it softer and lighter, you can go ahead and keep it that way. Sorry, we've got a little bit of a clutter of jars here. I didn't quite have time to pre-measure everything today. See? Very simple, easy. By the way, you can make this. You can make a big batch and you can throw it in the freezer. Makes great sandwiches. So, super easy. The wraps tonight were just a nice whole grain wrap that has flax in it. And we used a plant-based cream cheese spread that Kroger sells, and then just different vegetables. We used cucumbers, broccoli, spinach, and colored peppers. And just a super quick and easy way to make a lunch. Again, getting more fresh stuff. Wraps are a really fun way to get quick, fresh stuff in your diet. You can throw a lot of vegetables in with whatever protein source, like a tofu, that you might choose. All right, one more quick recipe tonight before we wrap things up. We are going to do the chia pudding. Chia pudding is super easy and so nutrition packed. There you can see it's all nicely glossy with its glaze. We are going to start with a can of coconut. Usually the recipe says coconut milk. I actually have coconut cream, so it's going to be just a little bit richer. And I will let you scrape that into the pan. Please don't put the garlic in it. Now, because coconut milk and coconut cream tend to be thick, if it's a good quality product, it's thick at room temperature. If you get really cheap stuff, it may not be thick when it's cool. I mean, room temperature in your house right now, well, it's been a warm day, might be enough to keep good coconut milk thin. But if it's a cool day and your coconut milk is thin, it's cheap coconut milk. I like Meyer brand and Thai Kitchen and Taste of Thai. Those are all good brands of coconut milk. But because it's thick, I would typically now take and run this bowl into the microwave for 30 seconds or something, or maybe heat it on the stove a little bit, or set it in some warm water because it is thick, but we'll just let it go right now. And we're going to add a half cup of chia seed. Chia seed is very high in protein. So this is an excellent breakfast food. Something, you know, overnight oats are kind of a fad right now, and they're excellent, nutritious. This is another thing you can do overnight. You can put it in the fridge at bedtime or whenever you have time to make it in the evening. In the morning, you've got a quick breakfast to go that has a really good protein source in it. And then we're going to put a can of pineapple tidbits canned in pineapple juice. And because chia seeds have a lot of soluble fiber. As they sit in the liquid, they thicken it. That soluble fiber gels. And that is the beautiful thing. Soluble fiber is excellent for taking cholesterol out of your system because it binds to the cholesterol that your bile excretes and takes it out of the body. So, excellent source of protein, soluble fiber, and omega-3 fatty acids. An excellent heart-healthy food here that we're cooking up, and you can make it dessert or breakfast or just any kind of meal. And then I'm going to put in peaches. Now, this recipe doesn't call for this extra liquid, but I'm going to put it in. And then what I'll do, it's my own little trick, is I'm just going to add a little more chia seed to thicken it up. Just that simple. Now you may want to sweeten it a little bit. I like to have mine a little sweet. You want to open those and put those in? I am using stevia. Stevia is the extract from an herb that's naturally sweet, but it's not sugar. So it gives you a sweet taste, but it's not sugar. So I'm using that. You could also use a little honey, maple syrup, organic sugar, monk fruit extract, whatever you like to sweeten with. Then we'll add just a little bit of vanilla or whatever flavoring you like. And I would typically also add a pinch of salt just to bring out the flavors. Extra nice and simple.